Greetings everyone, I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. When someone is being mean to you, there are multiple ways you can approach it. You can try to talk with them being delicate. You can snap at them and get them to leave because they're either like, oh, how dare you say that, or, well, I never. Or you can try to ignore it to the point where they either get bored with it or figure out, like, I'm being a witch. That last one is what Debra tries in this episode, but this is Marie we're talking about. Is ignoring the situation really gonna work? This is, of course, episode 9 of season 4, No Thanks. This is a Tucker Cawley and Jeremy Stevens written episode, and I will say off the top that they do a pretty good job together writing Debra and Marie's relationship and showing why, obviously, no matter what type of moments these two have, Marie is going to be the way she is to Debra. Now, we don't really get a big little moment, but it really does show that no matter what happens, Marie is going to be like this. She's going to be the overbearing mother and say what's on her mind, even if it's something you probably should not say. I mean, this is one of the things I go with freedom of speech, not to get political in this video, but just because you have the right to say something doesn't mean you should. You got to read the room and, context. A lot of times Marie says something's on her mind. She's read the room, but she's not applying the proper context. She's just being a witch, to say it in the censored way. Now, this episode takes place a little bit after the last one. It's Thanksgiving time. The family's all gathered for a meal at Marie's house, and Amy's there, which I'll have to add, this is the first appearance of Amy since that episode in season 3 where she stormed out of the house in Robert's pants after yelling at Marie. And she and Marie are on good terms now. Now with how Marie has been like to Amy ever since she and Robert started dating. You could kind of see why that is. But with what she said to Marie, especially the comment about her lasagna being overcooked, you would think that would take a big thing. But Marie seems to have her biases. All it is one little conversation, and it's fine. I mean, we saw that in the episode where she found out about Ray's party. When she found out she thought it was Robert's. Complete flip. And she didn't hold a grudge because she could see Robert doing that for some reason, or maybe because he's the older son and always neglectful, she's easier to forgive. But heaven forbid poor little Ray do something. So I could see her forgiving Amy a little bit more than she will Debra, especially since we're going to see what happens when she gets super mad at Debra in a couple seasons' time. It is just something to note, especially since this is going to be the only episode this season we're going to see of Robert and Amy together with round 2. Because Amy's not going to pop up until the episode where they think Robert might be gay at the opening, where they break up off screen and we just find out about it. And that kind of sums up her appearances in this season and next season, is just there to break up or get back together with Robert, which is a shame. At least in her appearances after that, they kind of hint at it. But she's kind of her own character within the episode until she and Robert do get back together the last time. But we'll talk about those when we get to them. Here, she's all there. She does facilitate the plot because it's her idea for all of them to get together and cook. Mainly because Debra brings up that she likes the feeling of family and unity. And of course, Amy brings up, like, hey, maybe we should all cook together Sunday. The boys are going to be out of town. We could all cook together. Part of that is brought about by the fact that she has drunk a little bit too much wine, which is why she's a little bubbly, which I will say Monica, she does a pretty good job playing Amy a few glasses of wine in there, a little bit more bubbly. Which, of course, she's seen some of the stuff already this family could do, so she should already know that's a bad idea. Especially with what Marie was saying last season. But I'd say it's more the wine talking here, so Monica does play that off pretty well. Debra at first doesn't want to do it, but she eventually decides to do it. And, doing the play nice card. Which, some of these opening scenes, pre-credits, are just throwaway scenes to throw a little bit of a funny moment in, or kind of set up what's going to be going on. This one really does set up what's going on, because the whole be nice thing is brought up there, where Allie's having a little bit of an issue with the twins. They're gobbling at her, which sets the fact it's by Thanksgiving. Debra suggests trying to ignore it, but then she looks at Ray, and Ray says something that gets the twins to shut up. But the be nice thing is like, alright, there it is. And then when she tries it in the episode, you see it does work to a little bit. Of course, Ray is like, that's not going to work, because as he puts it, that's how you deal with children. which it's fitting because it's Marie. Debra does do it, and it works, or so she thinks, because we find out by the later part of the episode that Marie was faking being nice, which makes sense. We've seen it before. That's fake nice. That's your mom. She was just toning it down a little bit to make it less obvious that she was just trying to placate Debra, have an enjoyable day. And this leads to an argument where Marie is like, well, I thought it was a fake nice. I thought you were being sarcastic. Which, if Marie thinks that that's being sarcastic, she really needs to learn to read people better. I mean, you could definitely tell from an acting standpoint and a character standpoint that Debra is acting a little different than normal. But from what we know, she is trying to genuinely be nice. There are just a couple moments where I'm like, that's a little bit out of character for Debra, like when she laughs and says, I can't cook. Which this is the part where they really took Marie and upped how insufferable she can be. Her and her blatant comments about the cooking, how the stirring sound. This should be educational for you. All her little comments like that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Now say it with me. Sitcom writing. It's like no matter what type of story elements they do, what type of little progressions happen, they're always going to slightly reset the status quo, especially with Marie and her comments towards Debra. It's like, Marie, you've given Debra the recipes. Debra has shown she can cook certain things. And I think it's later in this season she's going to show she actually cooks something a little bit better than you do when there's nothing you can negatively say about it. So all this speaks as jealousy. I mean, that was the reason you didn't want to give the recipes in the first place. But it's like, it's your daughter-in-law. You yourself have always made the comments about the fact that you do not like how your own mother-in-law treats you. So why are you repeating it? Just one of those things to vent about. This episode really does hatchet it up. Now it adds to the comedy, but it's one of those things that when you look at this as one part of a grander series, you got to bring that up. But within the context of the episode, it works. Especially since, like other episodes, this is one I did see in a vacuum in syndication without knowing how it connected to the other episodes in the grand scheme of things. So just randomly seeing it and it's introducing me to show it works. But when you're watching the show one after one after one, it is something that you got to note and be like, yeah, that's not the best thing there. And what makes it worse is that there's no big resolution at the end. Debra doesn't get one last word on with Marie. Marie and Debra don't come to an understanding. Debra's just there, and Ray basically just has an I told you so moment. Now his I told you so is connected back into the be nice thing. Yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing for you to try there, Debra. Which of course he's right, it didn't work. I mean, Ray didn't try it with his dad and brother, but as we could see them making fun of him taking a Coke in the lap and other stuff, it's not going to work with them. They'd probably just up the ante even more, whereas at least Marie is going to try to at least follow your lead with it, even if it is her being a little, don't know if I would say passive-aggressive, but leaning in that area. So you can understand it, but it's one of those things like, oh my god. And of course, Amy just sitting there being bubbly and then downs herself with more wine when she sees how ridiculous everything is. And you can even see why Robert would want to douse some wine in here. Characters, as I said at the top, it is a Marie and Debra-centric episode. The others are there to play their part. Ray's there to be the husband and to basically tell her, no, don't do it, Debra. Robert and Frank are mainly background players there to just laugh a little bit, make fun of Ray, and add some lines every now and then. Amy, she plays a little bit more of a bigger role here than she does in some other episodes which she just mentioned offhand. Probably the episodes with the biggest role are the ones involving her relationship with Robert, at least until the marriage. Then it's going to depend on the episode. Like the honeymoon one, it is the in-laws relationship with Marie, but we'll get to that one when we get to season 7? Yeah, season 7. No, man. That's season 8, actually. Excuse me, season 8. Here, she's there to facilitate the plot, add a couple little line moments, and obviously for the audience to compare how Marie treats one versus the other, which of course has not changed since season 2, so it's like, why bother? Favoritism at its finest, but it's kind of a little funny that she favors the daughter-in-law of the older brother, but favors the younger brother better, so it's kind of that weird little dichotomy. Especially considering that one of the main reasons she did approve of Amy Moore was the whole good girl thing, which I had it definitely out the window now. And that led to the little falling out, which is another reason why I'm a little surprised we didn't actually see that reconciliation on screen. Because even if it was just a throwaway line, it'd be like, well, at least we now see why they're back together and why she's treating her like the golden dill and treating Debra like crap again. Which leads to Debra trying to do this whole be nice thing in the first place. In conclusion, this is another decent episode in the series. Nothing really much else negative to say about it. I mean, the whole thing with Marie and Debra is the crux of the episode, and my little few complaints about it aside, it does add a lot of good humor to it, a lot of good moments of it. And it does allow for that one shot of Debra asking the family about Marie's behavior towards her, which is used in a lot of the highlights. I mean, it's how they open the 6 years package, you know. She could be critical of me. Cut to the boys, and they both have looks like. Cut to Frank, and he pretends to be asleep. And Debra really throwing it. That's really a big highlight moment right there, despite my little criticisms with the writing of Marie and all that. The boys, they do play their part. Amy, it's nice to see her have a little bit more to do here. And Monica does show a little bit of her comedic timing by playing the drunk version of Amy. It's kind of shame that's the only time we see Amy until she breaks up with Robert again, but it is what it is. Guess they didn't have any other Robert and Amy-centric ideas to do, which is one of my big complaints about their character arc. But I will get to that probably beginning of Season 5 when we actually see them break up entirely, which I'll give my whole rant about that when we get there. Definitely an episode I would recommend watching. If you're going to pick and choose random episodes from each season to show somebody, to introduce the show, this is one of the ones I recommend from Season 4. Especially if you're going to try to pick one episode that really does encapsulate the relationship between Debra and Marie. I mean, there's a couple others from previous episodes, like the Marie's Meatballs. Marie's Meatballs on this would be a good one to show back-to-back, even though they're 2 seasons apart, because it really does show it. See some resolution and then one with no resolution. That's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the Patreon link is down below. You do get some perks, like getting to see certain videos early. Depending on the tier, you get to put in certain requests for the channel. Like the base one, you get to request 1 video a month. And if you just want to do a one-off request or one-off donation, the PayPal link is also down below. Until next time, guys.